Okay, hello again, Year 9. So today we are making meringue. You should have got last week, I sent out some ingredients, an ingredients list just in case you wanted to cook along with me. And then you can pause the video at certain bits and pieces. And I've also attached the PowerPoint that I'm using and you would have used in lesson to your task today if you want it. Okay, so we're looking at meringue. Now I know last week you looked at your theory work was about changes in carbohydrates. And we're just going to go back a bit and have another look at changes in proteins. Okay, meringue is a very, very high level skill. It doesn't seem like it because it only has 2 ingredients, eggs and sugar. So it seems really easy, but actually lots and lots of things can go wrong with it, which is why it's such a high level skill. So we're going to start cooking. The first thing you need is 4 eggs and 200 grams of sugar. Before you start, I suggest you re-wash your whisk attachments. Okay, and your mixing bowl. It doesn't matter if they're at home and mum's washed them or they've been through the dishwasher and they're super clean already. I suggest you re-wash them. So I know these are clean, but I'm going to give them another go over. Okay. So to start with, you are going to need your mixing bowl. I prefer a metal mixing bowl. If you've only got plastic at home, that's okay. You just need to make sure it's really, really clean with really hot water, please. I suggest you also get yourself a measuring jug. Okay, this will come in handy in a second. So we are going to use 4 eggs for this recipe. You only want the egg whites. You do not want the egg yolks in here. You don't want any part of the egg yolk. That's the yellow bit. Okay. If you get egg yolk in this mixture of egg white, then we'll have a problem later, which I'll talk to you about. So the best way I think you can do it is do this one at a time. Okay. Make sure you've got a bin near you. And what you were going to do, just take my watch off so I don't get egg white all over that. You are going to crack your egg on the side, and there's a few ways you can separate them. Okay, you can split the eggshell in half, like I've just done, and then pour the egg yolk between each shell. The white then pours out, and what you get left with is a yolk inside there. That then goes straight in the bin. The egg white that's in there goes into your mixing bowl. Do it one at a time. We're doing 4 of these. If you put 3 egg whites in there and then the 4th one you put the egg yolk in there, you're gonna have to throw the whole lot away. Okay, so do one at a time. So break it open in half. Okay, and then get as much egg yolk white out as possible. If it breaks, if you get some yolk in there, throw it away and try again. So that's 2. Oh, I've broke. Sometimes your eggshell might break a bit weird, like I can't pour an egg yolk into that tiny little bit. So what you could do is just pour the whole egg into your hand and then let the white drop away from the yolk. Okay, that's obviously the gooier way to do things. Put that in there. That's 3. There we go. The fresher your eggs are, the easier that bit will be. Okay, give your hands a wash. Wipe everything down. We don't want raw egg flying all over the place. Then what we're going to do is whisk this egg white up. Okay, now we've talked about protein changes before. So at the moment, in this mixing bowl, if we took a magnifying glass to that, we'd see lots of proteins in a really complicated, jumbled up, squiggly shape. Okay, now you should have noticed that on your PowerPoint we looked at a few weeks ago. I'll refer back to it when I edit the video. So there's going to be lots of jumbled up proteins. We need to denature the protein, which means just change the shape of it. As we start whisking, you're going to see changes happening to these eggs, and that's the proteins denaturing. So start whisking. You're going to be whisking probably for about 3 to 5 minutes. Go on a high speed. Okay, you can already see that changes have started to happen in there. Okay, the mixture has become more foamy, it's become lighter in colour, and it's got lots of big air bubbles. You want to keep on going until this mixture becomes really, really stiff. It should become so stiff that you can put it over your head without it moving. That is not something I want to try right now, though. Okay, as you keep going, you'll notice it looks like you get more mixture in there. There obviously isn't more mixture in there, but where you have now denatured those proteins to split apart, what they've started to do is now trap lots of air and liquid between them. Because more air is being trapped, we're forcing air in through whisking, because more air is being trapped in, it's making it puff up. Okay, it's like blowing up a balloon. There seems to be like a tiny bit of balloon when you first start, and when you start blowing it up, it seems like there's more than there originally was. Because there's more air in there. Okay, you can see that stiff peaks start to form on top of the whisk. And then I can put that mixture over my head without it moving too far. Okay, so we've got a really stiff meringue foam there, or just eggy foam. Okay, that's what we're looking for. When you get to that stage, stop. Don't keep going. Okay, stop when it is stiff and you can put it over your head. Oh, I still need these. What am I getting rid of those for? Idiot. Now what we need to do is add our sugar. So with the sugar, we're using 200 grams today. A general rule with meringue is that it is 50 grams of sugar per egg white. Okay, so I've got 4 egg whites, which is 200 grams of sugar. So measure that out quickly. Oh. Just a bit over. That'll do. Perfect. And what you're going to do with this sugar is add it gradually. Okay, we don't want to dump all of this sugar in straight away because that's going to knock out all of the air that we've carefully put in to the egg whites. We're going to add it a tablespoon at a time, whisking constantly. Now, because your hand is doing 2 different things at the moment here. Oh, thank you. What you might want to do is get a slightly damp tea towel, put it on the side, and then let your mixing bowl rest on that. Okay, so little bit of sugar, okay, whisking, and then add it in. When you're whisking the sugar, you just need to give it enough time to dissolve. So like 20 seconds, 15 seconds or so. So the changes you'll start to notice now is that the air bubbles in the foam become a lot smaller, which makes this mixture a lot glossier. Okay, we'll start to get thicker as well. Right then, so once all your sugar's been added, you can see how thick that mixture has become now. It's super thick and it's super shiny. You can stop mixing when you can take a little bit of this mixture between your thumb and your forefinger, just give it a little rub, and if you can still feel like grains of sugar in there, keep whisking. And you might never ever whisk until every single grain of sugar is gone, but you want to do it so it's not so grainy. So I'm going to go a little bit longer here. Ooh. Okay, that'll do it. Okay, just a little bit. To get this excess off, don't just smash it. If you lift it up slightly from the meringue, just a little bit, and then turn the whisk on, it flings all of that spare meringue out. Okay, get rid of them. So there we have our meringue mixture. Okay, just a simple one. If you want to put food colouring or anything in this, that's fine, but you need to make sure it's a food colouring gel, which are a lot more expensive. You can't just put like that cheap food colouring that you might put in cupcakes or icing, because that's too watery and it will change the structure of this. Okay, it needs to be the tiniest bit of food colouring gel, which you can then mix through. Okay, so if you're doing food colouring, make sure you're using the make sure you're using the expensive stuff, please. So, cooking these meringues. Oh, now, if we was in school, I would just get you to do this the really easy way, which is just to spoon some onto a baking tray, because you don't get time to do the piping. But I'm going to show you piping today, just as like a little extra bit of skill. If you don't have a piping bag at home, that's fine. You can take a tablespoon. Obviously, I've got these measuring spoons here. If you've got those, that's perfect. You can just use a normal spoon if you want to at home. And take a little bit of mixture, like we do with cupcakes in Year 7, and dollop it straight on to the baking tray, just like that. Okay, it doesn't need to be pretty. If you're doing that, that's absolutely fine. Now, with the piping bag, if you've got one at home, make sure it's a proper one. A lot of people end up using like icing piping bags, and they're not really big enough. You can pick these up, like pack of like 200 for about a tenner. So if it's something you're interested in, grab some of these and they'll last you forever. You can also get reusable versions of these as well, which go through the wash, but they don't last as long as you hope they will. So we're going to cut the bottom of the piping bag off, and we can leave it with no nozzling if we want to. That'll just make like a flat finish on the meringue. But I'm going to use a star nozzle. Okay, pop that in. I need a little bit more cut for that. So if you can do piping, the earlier you can start practicing this, the better for your GCSEs if food is something you want to take. Meringue is a high level skill by itself. If you can pipe the meringue to a quality finish and to a professional finish, that's an even higher level skill. But it takes practice, okay? So, I'm just use a spatula. Thank you. Actually, I'll do it like this and then the kids will be able to, if they haven't got someone at home. So if you haven't got someone at home, if you actually missed something, come back. If you have got someone at home, you can get your mate or your mum or your dad, put the piping bag between their hands, and then you can roll it over their hands so as not to make a complete mess, and then you can start spooning the meringue in. If you haven't got somebody at home, you can do that yourself as best you can, or you can like rest it in a big flour vase, as long as you take the flowers out, or there's no flowers in there, or you can put it in a big measuring jug. Okay? A pint glass will probably help that as well. So we're going to get all this meringue mixture in. And then you can take the piping bag off and see how clean that is around the edges. You don't want meringue all over their fingers, please. Roll up the end of the piping bag, and then you want to push all of that meringue mixture down into the bag. Okay. Now be careful, if your meringue hasn't gone right and it isn't thick, like mine is, and it's super runny, this is all just going to pour out the bottom of the piping bag. There's no way to fix that, and it is just going to stay really flat in the oven. It means you just have to start again. You would have noticed that as you were whisking that it wasn't thickening up. That'll be because there was some grease in your mixing bowl, or there was some egg yolk, in your egg whites. Okay, if you've taken those steps exactly like I've done, you shouldn't have that. So, you want to squeeze from the top of the piping bag, okay? Make sure your fingers are well spaced out. And then this hand is used to guide. So you want this hand down the bottom, and you're going to guide the piping bag with that. Do not squish the piping bag with this hand. Okay, you squeeze from the top, please. Otherwise, you squish from that hand, it all comes out the end. Okay, so squeeze from the top. So you can do whatever shapes you want. If you want to do spirals, I suggest you start in the middle. Okay. And then you work your way out. Do not put the piping bag at an angle. Okay, leave it straight, and then try to keep it the same distance away from the baking tray the whole time. If you didn't want to do spirals, you could just keep the piping bag in the same place and do little ones like that, which is like the top of an ice gem. They're quite pretty actually. You can squeeze these in quite a bit because they don't rise too much or spread out too much in the oven. I've obviously got a silicone mat here. At home, if you don't have a silicone mat, a greaseproof bit of paper will work fine. Okay, so keep on squeezing the mixture down. I might just use that extra bit of extra baking tray. Try and keep them the same size though, so that they cook at the same time. If you've got little bitty tiny ones and absolutely massive ones, some are going to be ready before the others. Oh, these are like beautiful. One more. Oh, I messed that one up. Never mind. Get that last. Okay, I'm going to do one tiny little one there. There, that'll do. Okay, so what we've got then is a tray of perfectly white shaped meringues. So you can do, like I said, these little ice gems here. You can do a little spiral like this, that's fine. Or if you haven't got a piping bag, you can just dollop it on, okay? That's fine too, it looks good. Like I would be happy with that if I got served it in a restaurant. But piping is the higher level skill. It does take practice, so it's just something you have to keep going with. These now go into an oven, a low heat oven, I forgot to say at the start. It goes in at about 120 for probably about 40 minutes or so, okay? You need to keep checking them, because what we want is when they come out, we want them to be this really nice white colour. We don't want them to colour in any way. So if you notice when they're in the oven, they start to colour at the back, or the whole thing is getting too coloured, turn the heat down a little bit or move the tray around. Okay, so 120 for about 40 minutes or so. While you're waiting for that, make sure you get everything washed up properly, please. You can throw these disposable piping bags away if you've got one, but don't throw the nozzle away, okay? See you in a bit. Okay, so these have had a lot longer than 40 minutes. They've had about an hour. The way to test if they're ready is if you take them out the oven, you can see that they've all kept their shape. They have gone a slightly different colour. I had to turn the heat up a little bit. Meringue is ready when you can take the meringue off of the baking tray and you see that you get a clear bottom, okay? So it shouldn't be too gooey and sticky under there. Now these are just about ready. You can see with some of them, I'll try and find one that's not. I mean, that would be fine, but you can see where it's a little bit, I mean, these are all fine now. Hit. Okay, where it's still sticking a little bit, you probably just want to give it a few more minutes. Now these meringues will be gooey in the middle. If some of them are ready and one of them isn't, like I just did, like you just saw, you can leave them back in, they'll be absolutely fine for the next 5 minutes, okay? Once they are out, leave them to cool a little bit and then you can obviously eat them however you want with some cream or some strawberries. Make sure please that you fill in the form and I will speak to you again very soon. Bye.